Hot take, you can have very little money and make money on Airbnb. You can start a cheap property buying cheap furniture, not having much cash in your pocket, and you can still be successful in this industry. Everybody that you see on the internet screaming that they're losing money just did it the wrong way. And in this video, we're gonna get to the truth, which is that this is a service-based business and not a product-based business, which is great for you if you really care about starting something and you plan on doing a good job. Right? If you plan on doing well, even if you don't have much cash in your pocket, you can succeed in the short-term rental industry. My name's Sean Rocky G. I have about 150 properties, 8 different cities, and one of my specialties is doing Airbnb with properties that you don't have to own. It's called rental arbitrage, and that is really the secret path to doing this on the cheap. Let me give you some tips for your first low-cost property. Let's go. Welcome back, YouTube world. You know, surprisingly enough, I'm actually in a cheap property as I'm shooting this video. We just executed a deal with a building that was probably a C-class property, and a multifamily syndicate bought it, and they're renovating it. And they're putting granite countertops in, you know, they're putting in new laminate flooring, like stuff to make the place more pretty. And so now it's like a B-class property. And our rents are under $1,300 a month for our rents here, and this is Houston. And so in this space, under $1,300 a month is not a nice property. If you wanted a nice property, you'd be looking at $1,700 a month in rent, $1,800 a month in rent, stuff like that. Sometimes people are paying $2,100 a month in rent for a single one-bedroom property that's on Airbnb. And, you know, it could even go higher from there. But the point here is that you can have a price competitive product, and if you do it in a thrifty way, you can still have it look appealing. And I want to give you advice for that appeal side. For making a property that will perform, even though you spent thousands less than your competitor, your nightly rate's going to be tens of dollars less than your competitor as well. So it all comes out in the wash. So let me tell you about how we do it thrifty. First thing you should know is that with B-class properties, they tend to not be managed well. And because they're not managed well, there's going to be a pro and a con here. One of the pros of this is that the landlord will have less occupants and he'll have more empty space. So he's more willing to say yes to you. He's also more willing to give you free rent because he just needs some people leased up. And if somebody's under 85% occupancy for their property, it's less likely that they're going to get that thing filled inside of 4 months, you know, if they haven't done a good job already. So asking them for a couple months of rent for free is going to really be no skin off their back, right? Because they're like bird in the hand, worth two in a bush. So you're going to be able to get free rent, which is an important part of this. It could cost you $5,000 or $6,000 per door that you stage. But if you can get $3,000 or $4,000 of free rent, now your actual total launch costs, as long as you generated revenue for the 2 or 3 months, will be more like $3,000, $2,000 of actual cost per door. This is a big deal. Free rent will be the key to recuperating your cash invested. You're still gonna have to have the cash out of pocket, but you can work out deals for that too in this economy. I'm gonna tell you about how to do that here in a second. But still, with the cash invested, you can recuperate that cash inside of 4 or 5 months, and you can do it all over again. Now, the cons of a property that is poorly managed is the maintenance side, which means that when you go walk properties that are B-class or C-class properties, you're looking for diamonds in the rough where you can tell the management really cares about what they're trying to pull off. They just need a little help. If you find a slumlord, somebody who's like really evasive to doing like maintenance, and you see like there's maintenance issues across the property, I would ask pointed questions about how they fix this, or you know, who's the maintenance person on site. Try to get a hold of that maintenance person and talk to them about how work orders are handled. You want to make sure that you're not walking into a property where the landlord will just forget that you exist once he gets your rent check. This really is a partnership, and you need to treat it that way. Landlords that buy B-class properties or C-class properties tend to be more scrappy, so they're more likely to see this as a partnership, which will be good for your future endeavors, picking up more doors, more buildings as they grow their portfolio. This can be an opportunity for you to also grow your portfolio with the same single landlord. And another tip, if you're short on cash and you're trying to launch your first property, go with a studio instead of a one-bedroom, and go with maybe something that's like 450 to 500 square feet as opposed to something that's like 800 square feet. Because the studio will cost about $1,000 less to furnish just because that wall is not there. You don't have to worry about the decor on either side. You might even need to do less painting. Now, accent walls are a great way to make your place look interesting on very little money or very little creativity. And with the studio, one accent wall covers everything. And on the topic of square footage, the more square footage you have to fill, the more decor you'll need to buy. Because in order to make a good looking short-term rental, you don't want the place to look barren or unnecessarily minimalist without a plan. And so you'll have to fill your walls, your corners, your spaces. And to have a slightly smaller square footage space, it's just easier to make more happen for less money with that. Instead of a 6-person table, a 4-person table, or maybe even one that only seats 3, like a round one. Instead of having 2 nightstands and a dresser and a wall of shelves and plants and stuff like that, you might just need 1 nightstand an easel mirror, and a couple of plants because the less square footage of the space. This really does save you a lot of money and will go a long way. Now, the other side of this, from my experience, my 7 years doing this, you will eventually want to diversify, maybe pick up some 3-bedroom or 4-bedroom floor plans, and you can do a great job of picking up 3-bedroom floor plans in like garden style apartments, like B-class apartments that have a pool, has a gym, still sleeps a good amount of people because it's a 3-bedroom, but the rents are going to be a little bit cheaper and you won't have to go through all the repairs and renovations that a house would need. So you can service groups of people, like you can sleep 9 or 10 people in a 3-bedroom apartment just fine. And it will pop up well on Airbnb's search algorithm because you'll have those amenities. You'll have an outdoor grill, a pool, gym, things like that. So an amenitized B-class community is a great alternative to a house. Because if you got a house and that house has a yard, in order to perform well on Airbnb, in my experience with a single family home, you have to do a lot of work on the yard space. The yard space would be that make it or break it amenity that gets people to book your home at a good nightly rate. Once you start to get more into the luxury side of short-term rentals, a good decked out yard is like the one thing that you have to have with a house, because if you have an expensive house without an awesome yard, there's just way too many out there that have it. And this is where you will actually start to lose your competitive advantage. So while you're still getting your cash right, 3-bedroom floor plans, like 1,100 square foot 3-bedroom apartments with pools and gyms is going to be your move. And so you'll diversify. You'll do studios and you'll do 3 bedrooms and you'll keep doing them in apartments because they have the amenities that you need. Maintenance is cheaper. It's easier to get the free rent. Now, additionally, as you start to launch multiple properties at the same time, this is where you're not super cash broke because you're doing 4 or 5 doors at once. But let's say you need to stretch your cash on 4 or 5 doors because you maybe have $20,000 and you're trying to get 5 doors done for 20 grand. That's a tall order, isn't it? Well, you could just do the bed and the headboard and the table and the TV and the couch and stuff, and you could get the very basics probably for $3 grand or $3,500 per door, unless you use a magic trick, which I'm going to talk to you, of course, in this video, other things you can do. But if you did buy everything outright new, you could probably get it done for just over $3 grand for all the basics in a studio. And after that, you probably spend another $1,500 or $2,000 on what I would call staging props. Now, you will eventually buy all of these staging props for every single unit, but you're going to skate on this. You're going to get a stand-up mirror and these really extravagant fake plants, and you're going to get books and baskets and stuff that fills up the photos to make the photos more like a full-on decked out Airbnb, more like home. And for all 5 apartments, you will move $1,000 worth of stuff from door to door to door and get all those photos taken. And as you collect revenue, because remember, you should be getting free rent on these deals anyway, you get 8 weeks of rent for free. As you start to collect revenue on some of these doors, you will buy extra plants and you'll buy extra mirrors and you'll complete the staging of your listing with all those little knickknacks as you get the cash for it. But you could save $6,000 or $8,000 on a launch by not buying 5x the decor, only buying 1x the decor and shoving that stuff around for your photo shoots. We're actually doing that right here because we're doing something called templating. And let me kind of give you another secret. When you pick up 16 properties, like I'm doing with this building here, we have 16 units we're picking up. We're doing something called templating. Now, templating is where you buy very basic furniture, very basic stuff. And let me show you some photos. This one set of photos will be relevant for 4 separate Airbnbs. And then another set of stock photos will be representative of another 3 or 4 Airbnbs as well. We take one design with a very key accent wall color, very key plant distribution, very easy to stage layout, and we take one set of photos, but we keep staging 4 units, and the other 3, we never take photos of the other 3 because they're identical. So you can save money on professional photography, you can save time on the photography, you can save time on the photo editing. There's a bunch of cost reduction here. And at this point too, you get to use the props. Now, because we have a brown theme here and a blue theme here for this property, we have 2 sets of staging props, which means we've spent double the money, but we're not cash broke. Like I said, in your case, you might only want to go with one actual design theme. Now, one thing I do want to bring up, since we're on the topic of the photos that I just showed you, this listing has a terrible lighting situation because it is a B-class property. There's actually no ceiling light in the living room for this place, which means we have to buy external lights, floor lamps, other stuff like that. But we haven't found any that we like yet, so we just have gone with the basic like table side lamp kind of look for now. Now, we were able to offset what could have been an obvious lighting issue by the way that we did our design. Very specifically our wall color. Because we're using neutrals, basic neutrals, whether they're the grays, the blues, the browns, we are choosing accent wall colors that will allow our furniture to feel more present in the photo, make it feel more intentional, and that dark wall color allows us a little bit more flexibility with shadows. It allows us a little bit more freedom to run with manipulating exposure. And it just gives the listing a little bit more personality, a little bit more texture, and it makes the darkness make sense. The fact that there's not as much light in some of these photos, it makes it easier to make sense of the darkness because the wall color is dark, things are supposed to be a little bit darker. It just makes the darkness more comfortable. And so if you are doing mid-class properties like the ones that I'm talking about here, cheaper ones, and you're buying neutral furniture like dark grays or dark blues, consider using a dark wall color that accents your neutral furniture, and then let pops of color like really bright greens or like really bright yellows, like little bits of pops of color, let those come forward in your photos to start to give your listing that personality that it would need to still perform well on Airbnb. You'll also notice that we have a couple photos that are just for the sake of making it look like somebody professional did this. We've got the chair with the mirror and the plant, and then we got the stand-up mirror with the plant behind it. I will tell you that that's my signature move. The easel mirror with the plant, that whole thing, that's my thing. Anytime that we have a blank bedroom that's just barren and ugly looking and we need to fix it fast, we'll get a throw blanket, some nice pillows, a stand-up mirror, and a really tall plant that fans out. And that alone will flip your bedroom from looking like nothing to looking like this minimalist, intentionally designed this way, looks good kind of thing. Of course, it's not the best bedroom in the world, but again, we're not doing a luxury property. We spent maybe $900 on everything that you see in that bedroom. And that is saying something when trying to ball out on a budget. So now let's get thrifty. Let's get really, really thrifty. Like I was saying, you could actually not spend money on full priced stuff. And right now, this economy is one of those economies where you could really start to save some money. There are people legitimately just giving away their furniture right now, just handing it off. Like, somebody please take my stuff. I can't afford my lease anymore. My landlord wants me gone. I don't have time to sell the furniture and I don't want to spend the money to store it, so we'll just give it away. You can get a lot of free furniture right now, and you can repurpose that furniture into whatever your next place is. And thankfully, like I said, a lot of people have been doing this wrong. They thought this was a product-based business. They bought really expensive product. They bought really good furniture. They overspent, and now they got to give it away. So you can do this. Now, let's say you pick up a bunch of lamps, a bunch of like couches and beds and stuff. The only things you really are going to spend money on are like little bits of decor that really unify everything that you purchased. Accent wall painting or accent wall design. It doesn't have to be paint. You can do a plant wall, you can do other things, but you'll spend a little bit of money on decor and design and accents. And then you might spend $15, $20 per lampshade and buy different colors of lampshades, and then $15, $20 per pillow and buy different color of accent pillows. So now that staging props thing will have an array of different color lampshades. So that way when you take photos, you take the white stupid lampshade off the top of this one lamp and replace it with a charcoal one or a sky blue one, something that's just more congruent with the space. And it's not expensive. Just like the girls who go out like to prom and then return the dress later, you could actually even return these lampshades after you do the photo shoot and just replace it with the white one that you own. You could literally get away with that. These are little details that people really don't actually care about in the space, but when you take these photos and you want a good congruent design and the photo matters so much, then yes, switch out a lampshade for 15 or 17 bucks. Change out the pillows and find one that just works best for the photo. Because even if you don't keep a literal lime green pillow on the bed, throwing a lime green pillow on the bed for the photo might be one of the most important things you could do just for the sake of your photo. And make sure you do a little bit of reading on design basics, because you'd be surprised how far having just a couple of vintage books, having a couple of fake plants, having a black item like a black vase or a black statue that you can incorporate into photos, and having pops of bright color along with large amounts of deep, dark, saturated color, and how these all can come together, and you can just keep replicating variations of the same design. You'll be not only surprised, but impressed with yourself at how far you can make the same 5 items go for the sake of photo shoots. Like, we literally will move like a little flower or a little plant from room to room to room to include it in our shots if we have nothing else to work with. This is scrappy stuff, guys. And my last bit of advice for you on this, I think when it comes to actually designing your place, remember that you are trying to service a guest, right? We're not just trying to appease them with the photos to get them to book with us, but we have to make good on our delivery once somebody does book with us. So like I said, this is a service-based business. You're gonna be selling yourself. The conversation that you have with somebody, connect with them, ask them questions, help them have a wonderful stay. And this is gonna be one of the easiest ways to get 5-star reviews with a product. Then people will say, oh, this is like a 2.5-star hotel. But make sure that their connection with you is the bar that you're holding for the review that you're asking for. Because if you are completely disconnected from the guest, then yeah, they're going to review your home on what they believe to be a 5-star scoring for hotels or something. But when you make it very clear that what you provide is a service, like, hey, you're going to stay in my place. I've made the place for you. I've set it up. I'm going to help you find restaurants and other things to go to. The amount of service that you're giving them beyond the stay itself is going to be paramount to the 5-star review that you can get. Now, as far as the kind of customer that you're serving, you might find that you're near a hospital. Like, we are walking distance from one of the Methodist hospitals right here, which means that our kitchen might be one of the most important things that we can offer here, because people who are staying for an extended period of time will want to stay at home and cook. They need a good, sturdy dining table. They need a fully stocked kitchen, and they need ample amounts of eating utensils, drinking utensils, everything that they can come and kind of settle in. Now, I will recommend that you have a washer and dryer on site if you also want to have longer stays. I will recommend that you have a gym if you want to have longer stays. If you're going to have longer stays, I'd recommend more neutral and safe and soft colors, and I think this darker wall color will do just fine. We'll find out. But braver design styles tend to be good for short-term impulsive stays. People who want to stay somewhere kind of cool for a few days, those more brave design styles will get somebody who knows that they're not really staying too long to want to try to experience something new. If you want to get longer stays, people are going to be more discerning about where they stay, and they're going to be looking for signs that they're not going to regret their choice. So swinging for the fence and doing some sort of weird thing, or making the place entirely pink or something like that, won't be something that people will want to stay very long for. They might want to stay there a couple of days. So be mindful of where your property is geographically located to like points of interest, and that will help inform some of your market research on what type of customer you should expect to have. But again, at the end of it all, whether you have a luxury product, you have a cheap product, whether or not you just knocked out of the park with like Fendi wallpaper, or whether you went to Ross Dress for Less for your decor, if you service your customer and treat this like a service-based business, connect with them through the messages right away, try to give them a service, be a concierge as the value add, you're going to get 5-star reviews for your cheap place. And Airbnb's algorithm is so heavy on occupancy and 5-star reviews right now. Thank you so much for watching this video, guys. And as always, I'll see you on the other side.